הפרשנים הישראלים ראו בהתנהלות האמריקנית האחרונה במצרים בגידה במובארק. הרוב גם סבור שאמריקה נאיבית ותמיכתה בהתקוממות המצרית תעלה לשלטון שוב את האסלאם הקיצוני ולא רק במצרים. לאמריקנים הסברים משלהם להתנהלותם במשבר הנוכחי, ואתמול שוחחתי על כך עם אחד היועצים של הנשיא אובמה למזרח התיכון ומי שהיה שגריר ארצות הברית בישראל ובסוריה. So now thank you for joining us, Mr. Martin Indik.
Thank you.
I believe there is not even one Israeli who is not asking himself these days, what does America want? Isn't that clear to President Obama that his support of the uprising in Egypt will bring to power the radical Islam not only in Egypt, but all through the moderate Middle East?
Look, I can understand and relate to the fears that Israelis must have today. The Egyptian-Israeli relationship is the cornerstone of your whole security, as it is for the United States' whole position in the Middle East. But we have to look at what's happening in Tahrir Square in Cairo and understand that the option of holding on to the ancien regime, of standing by the pharaoh, doesn't exist anymore. So I think the president made a hard decision to get with history, with the tide of history, and focus instead on shaping a more peaceful order in Egypt with a new democratic leadership.
But isn't that an irrational dream? You are probably aware of what the Ayatollah Khamenei just said on Friday. He says that the uprising in Egypt proves that the Islam is awakened all over the Arab world. If he understands that, how come America do not see the picture?
Well, you know, the Ayatollah in Iran is just trying to ride the popular wave in Egypt, but surely people can see that this is not an Islamist revolution as he tries to portray it. Now, I can understand people being concerned, as I am, that the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the only effectively organized opposition party, can move in and try to take advantage of it. But I don't think there's any way they're going to be able to lead this. And the question is how to strengthen the moderate forces that are behind this. That requires us to work with the moderate opposition in ensuring an orderly, peaceful transition.
But President Mubarak had already declared that he will step down in 9 months or 7 months. But this was not enough for America. President Obama wants him out of power right now. Is this the way to make a stable transformation of power in Egypt?
The one thing that the demonstrators in Tahrir Square are demanding is that Mubarak go. I think everything else is negotiable. But that is the reality. But I think the most important point I want to make is that we need to suck it up and get over the fact that Mubarak is gone. There's nothing we can do about that anymore. What we've got to do, Israel and the United States, is focus on how we deal with a new Egypt, because that's what's coming down the pike.
Mr. Indik, is it true that the U.S. Army is in constant touch with the Egyptian Army right now and all through this crisis?
At the highest levels, that's right. There's contact at every level. At the level of the generals, those relationships have been built up over many years, and I'm sure that they're in daily contact, particularly the chairman of the Joint Chiefs with his counterpart, Secretary of Defense Gates, with the Minister of Defense, Tantawi, who's a key player. You may have noticed today that he went down to Tahrir Square to check with the soldiers and again made it clear that they're not going to open fire on the demonstrators.
You know, the WikiLeaks site had published last week that the American embassy in Egypt has been criticizing quite firmly the Mubarak regime already at 2006. As far as you know, was America encouraging actively the opposition in Egypt?
Look, successive administrations, and not just administrations, but senators from Republicans to Democrats, when they go to Egypt, they make the point to Mubarak over and over again. This has been going on for at least a decade, that he needs to open his political space, that he needs to allow for political reform, that he needs to allow for moderate and secular forces to contest in the elections. But Mubarak had the same answer every time, which was, no, if I do that, the Muslim Brotherhood will take over.
Right.
So there has to be an orderly process in which the center which led these demonstrations. This was not started by the Muslim Brotherhood. The center can hold, the center can emerge through a democratic process. I'm sure a lot of Israelis looking at me and listening to this
and think you are naive.
I'm sure they would say, oh, Indik's just naive.
Right.
Right, except that what is their answer, these hochams, these great mavens? What is their answer to the situation that they see in front of them? Do they want the Egyptian army to fire on all the demonstrators? I mean, people need to get serious. People in Israel need to understand that this is not about the United States abandoning an ally. It's about trying to adjust to the first democratic revolution in the Arab world. This is a huge historic deal.
But Mr. Indik, look what happened when America supported democratic movements in the past. You lost Iran to the Ayatollahs, then you supported democracy in Iraq, and look what's going on over there right now. Then you supported democracy in Gaza, and we got Hamas, and now you're supporting democracy in Egypt with no leader to stand up for the masses, which make it very likely that the Muslim brother will fill in the vacuum.
No, I don't think it. We're not doomed to repeat history. The problem with the Shah, which is the most important analogy, is that we stuck by him. And as a result of our actions in sticking by him for 9 months, we managed to turn the street against us. And I ask you again, what is the alternative?
So, Mr. Indik, all I can say is that we should all pray very hard today and tomorrow that the things in Egypt will not fall into anarchy, you know.
Shabbat.
Yeah, Shabbat. Shabbat shalom to you too.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you. טוב, זה כאמור היה אתמול, ומאז התפתחויות דרמטיות. נדב אייל, עורך חדשות החוץ, מצטרף לנו עם כותרת מהדקות האחרונות, עם שינוי כיוון